This is the Ultimate Sports Rush on WONC Sports with your host, Kevin Jackman.
Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Sports Rush. I'm Kevin Jackman. Alongside me right now is Jason Krug in the WONC Sports Studio, streaming live courtesy of Ustream. And boy, what a weekend it was this past weekend. We're going to get into the NFL a little bit later. A lot to talk about as far as the NFC goes and a lot of the situations that are happening in the NFC North. But we're going to start out today with some baseball. And of course, I've got Jason Krug next to me. And Krug, you are the baseball man here at WONC Sports. Let's start talking about the NL right now, because the NL is pretty much locked away except for one spot, that second playoff spot.
Yeah, pretty much the East Division 2 in the National League. It's a little up for grabs, but you look at it right now, Nationals are up 3 games with only 3 games left. So unless they go and lose the next 3 games, which is not likely, as well as they've been all season, they pretty much got that locked up.
Now, the Cardinals have been playing pretty well as of late. The Brewers looked like they might be challenging for that second wild card spot, as well as the Dodgers. If any of these teams were to start over from scratch with this last series, who do you think would perform the best in the postseason?
See, that's hard to say. I mean, you look at the Dodgers, the acquisitions they made in the last month or so. They had some huge names. They got Hanley Ramirez, that like 5 or 6 man trade with Boston. They got Carl Crawford and Josh Beckett.
And Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez, that's who it was I couldn't think of. You look at them, the talent that they got right now, they should be making a run for it. They just haven't been able to perform, though.
Now, the rest of the league is pretty much locked up. And I mean, not pretty much. It is. Out of the East, you got the Nationals with the best record in baseball, tied with the Central League with the Reds. And coming out of the West is the Giants once again. Which one of those teams is the strongest in your opinion?
I think I might have to go with the Nationals. Kind of a little bit of a surprise this year, but they've had an amazing pitching staff with Gio Gonzalez, Steven Strasburg. They had to shut him down, but I still think they've got one of the best pitching staffs in the majors, as well as their offense has just been dominant all season.
Now let's talk a little bit about the Cincinnati Reds. This is a team that coming into the season, a lot of people thought they would perform, not to this sort of level right now, because the bullpen has been phenomenal. Aroldis Chapman has been incredible in the back end of that bullpen. The starting pitching has been above average as well. You got guys like Johnny Cueto, Bronson Arroyo in that starting pitching staff, and they have performed a lot better than expected. And then Joey Votto, who's been in and out of the lineup, he needs to step up for this team. Do you think they are serious World Series contenders?
I think they are. Looking at the beginning of the season, I thought they might make a run for it. We've seen them do it in the past. They look like they might make it to the postseason, and then they drop off. This year, they were able to hold on to that spot, and they've got a real solid infield that doesn't make a lot of errors, and I think that's one of the biggest things when it comes to postseason. You got to make sure you don't make those errors.
Final division is the West, and this is the division that isn't exactly the sexiest of the divisions in baseball, because there's a lot of teams that don't score a lot of runs. You have the Giants, you have the Padres, you have the Diamondbacks, you have the Rockies and the Dodgers, and these teams just don't put up a ton of runs. But the one thing the Giants can do is pitch. And the one guy who hasn't performed up to expectations is Tim Lincecum so far this year. Matt Cain has more than stepped up in his place. Can this Giants team compete in the playoffs despite the struggles of Tim Lincecum?
I think so. You mentioned Lincecum, but also they got Melky Cabrera that's out with that suspension for use of steroids and then he tried to make that website. little interesting story there, but yeah. I think they'll make it past. I think they'll make it as a divisional series.
So you can't see this, because usually when you look at playoff teams, it's usually the teams with the strongest pitching staffs that go, at least the top 1, 2, 3 starters, because that's really all you need in the playoffs. Those are the teams that seem to make it deep in the playoffs. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but I think once they I think they'll win the first round. They get to the championship series for the National League. I think they'll probably be facing the Nationals. I feel like the Nationals got one of the best pitching staffs, and I think they'll just be able to dominate. I mean, the Giants got solid staff, but not quite as good as the Nationals.
The one team to have locked up a wild card spot is the Atlanta Braves. They have been there all season long, holding that spot, challenging the Nationals too in the later part of the season, especially once they shut down Strasburg. We'll get to that in just a second. But the Braves are a team that are dangerous, and if they can get hot, they certainly have the pieces to make a run in the playoffs. You look at the outfield, I mean, Michael Bourne, Jason Hayward. You look at the infield, Dan Uggla, Freddie Freeman, Chipper Jones. This is his last hurrah. How much does he inspire this team to try and make a World Series run this season?
Oh, he's absolutely huge. This is a guy that's been in the majors for, I don't even know how many years.
More than we've been alive, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, he was one of the best players in the majors. He's still a great guy. Having that veteran on the team who's been to the playoffs so many times. The Braves had that streak of, what was it, like 13, 14 seasons in a row they won the division. Chipper Jones was in that a lot. Now, they didn't make it very far in the postseason, but still that experience, I think he can, let the guys know what it's going to be, how they can prepare for it, and I think that's going to be huge for them.
Now, let's talk about the Cardinals, because right now they are almost a lock for that second wild card spot. You look at their pitching staff, it's been inconsistent all season long. A lot of injuries. Adam Wainwright coming off of that big elbow surgery. Chris Carpenter just came back from his surgery as well, and the offenses look pretty well. I mean, they've looked pretty good in their own right. I mean, Alan Craig is one of the best situational hitters in all of baseball, and then you have hitters like Matt Holliday right in the middle of that lineup that are performing much better than anybody really could have expected them. Can the Cardinals, if they're hot, compete with the top of these teams, despite the fact that they may not have the same big-name marquee players?
Yeah, I mean, they've been so hot. You look at how they were last postseason. Guys like Molina and Freeze. In the World Series, they were clutch. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. They get on a hot streak. They're going to be hard to stop. Yeah, they don't have Pujols. But you look at what Pujols did in the last World Series, he only had like 4 or 5 hits. He had one game where he had like 3 home runs or 3 hits, like an RBI and a couple RBIs, home run. But he was not a major contender. You've looked at how they've done this season without Pujols. They've been just about as good without him.
All right, we're going to return right here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. When we return, we're going to wrap up the NL and move to the AL. Also, we're going to take our picks on the MVPs from both leagues and the Cy Youngs. It's a little bit hazy this year with the Cy Youngs, so we'll get all of our opinions in just a bit. So stay tuned. We'll be right back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush presented by WONC Sports. Back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush, talking up some baseball between Jason Krug and Jeremy Rushing. Just joins us, graces his presence with us in WONC Sports studio. A little late from dinner, I guess, Jeremy Rushing. But nevertheless, getting back into baseball, and the last note I wanted to touch on in the National League was the Washington Nationals, because this is the team that most people would probably consider the front runners in the NL, and they decided to shut down Steven Strasburg, a decision which has huge ramifications throughout these playoffs. And I want to get your guys' take. If you were Rizzo, if you were the Nats GM, would you have shut down Steven Strasburg?
I think it was the right idea. How they went about it, though, they should have spread out his innings further out of the season. They shouldn't have let him go complete games, 7, 8, 9 innings. They should have limited him to like 5, maybe 6 innings earlier in their season, so that when it came to the postseason, he wasn't shut down by that point. Is it important to shut him down or keep him limited? Yes, because he's never thrown this many innings before in college and high school.
But honestly, you're in a position to win the World Series. Why would you protect a guy that could maybe help you down the road when this is your year? You have the potential to take home the championship. I mean, it's nice to think that, hey, we're going to keep this guy healthy because we like him. You're in the business of winning. That is your job, is to prove that you can win that championship. By shutting Steven Strasburg down, they have now decreased their percentage of winning the World Series substantially.
Yeah, I mean,
if you look at this would be equivalent to 10 years ago, 9 years ago, the Cubs shutting down Mark Pryor.
And Kerry Wood.
So then the Cubs Nation would have went ballistic.
Oh.
But with that being said, this is not 9 years ago. It seems like every pitcher in the league is either getting Tommy John surgery or something like that every offseason. Well, you look like you just talked about Adam Wainwright and Chris Carpenter, the Cardinals' two best pitchers, having to get surgeries, missing a lot of time. So this isn't 9 years ago. This is today, and the Nationals shutting down Strasburg, but I completely agree with Jason Krug that they should have limited his innings earlier in the season to maybe 5 or 6 per start. That way they wouldn't have to shut him down before the postseason.
But even if, he had the innings capped. It doesn't matter how they spread him out. He was going to be shut down for the playoffs. You can't pitch 160 innings and pitch in the playoffs. How would that work?
I don't know. I think they should have, if they were going to shut him down for the regular season, then come postseason, you let him pitch. But, this is a guy you can build a team around, and we've seen him do that this year. This is a guy that you don't want to risk getting injured in the future. He's young. You got him for a couple years, you could win multiple pennants.
This is all I'm saying. This could be, and very well could be, the Nationals' only opportunity with this team. You don't know what's going to happen down the road. Ryan Zimmerman could break his back. Honestly, anything can happen to any one of these star players. Adam LaRoche could have a horrible year next year. Bryce Harper could get hurt. This team, right now, the way they're built right now, is a contender. And by shutting down Strasburg, they have now essentially told their fan base that they're throwing in the towel this year, and they hope to compete in the years to come. I don't agree with that. That's my 2 cents. I don't agree with that philosophy. I say pitch Strasburg, put him in the game.
All right, Jason Krug, I have a question for you. Without the emergence of Gio Gonzalez, does Strasburg get shut down?
No, definitely not. They practically got 2 aces with Gonzalez and Strasburg. If they didn't have Gonzalez, who would you be throwing in that Game 7 situation?
But that's my question is, are you confident in Gio Gonzalez the way you would be confident in Steven Strasburg?
Now, I know we're going to get to this later on, but Gio Gonzalez is my NL Cy Young frontrunner at the moment.
Foreshadowing.
So, he is far and away, obviously the most wins in the league. But just if you look at his starts consistently, he, to me, is the best pitcher in the National League. Maybe in all of baseball besides Justin Verlander. So, Gio Gonzalez, he's proved every single start that he's made this season that he is capable of putting in an excellent outing whenever you need him, playoffs, what have you.
All right, I guess I'm in the minority then that they should not have shut down Strasburg.
See, I'm 50-50, so I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle.
All right. So let's shift to the AL, because this is the league that, basically nothing is for sure right now. The Yankees and the Orioles are still in a battle for that AL East. Both teams will probably make the playoffs in some capacity. One of them will take a wild card spot. In the Central, that is probably the most locked up league. And it's kind of sad considering the White Sox held a 3-game lead only 13 days ago, and now they have a 3-game deficit with 3 games to go.
This new system could become an absolute disaster in the American League if you have a 3-way tie for that last wild card spot.
I would love that.
Because the Yankees and the Orioles have to play, and then whoever loses that has to play Oakland in another 1-game playoff. Then whoever wins that has to play the 1-game playoff to get into the playoffs.
The playoffs could be delayed, I think, 3 days.
Yeah, they could, just because of the American League, and that would be an absolute, I don't know.
But would that be a nightmare, or would that just be baseball heaven for baseball fans?
It depends on how you look at it. I would love it, personally.
Same here.
But I think the people running the playoff system would think of it as an absolute disaster.
But when you look at it, if the Yankees and the Orioles had to play a 1-game playoff to go into a 1-game playoff, how much of a disadvantage would that give to the Orioles? Or the Yankees?
Yeah, because it depends on the home situation, who would have home field and what game, and
there's so many scenarios that you could go through.
Yeah, can't even think on the top of my head who would have home field in said game. But if you're having to travel 3 straight days to 3 separate games, by the time you get to that 3rd game, you're going to be exhausted. Plus, not to mention you already used 3 of your top pitchers just to get to that spot.
Well, let's go to the AL East, because this is the one that's probably the most interesting. When you looked at this division before the year, you would say, okay, Yankees are probably the cream of the crop. They're going to be number one. The Rays are right there with them. They're going to compete. The Red Sox look like they have, a lot of really good players, and, they could compete along with the Yankees and the Rays. And then you have the Blue Jays. They'll probably be around 500 like they usually are. And the Orioles, we'll see if they can get out of the cellar. And now look at this division. The Red Sox are horrible. The Blue Jays are below 500. And the Orioles are tied for first place this late in the season. What is going on?
92 wins at this point in the season.
How many of those have been one-run games?
I know, right? And how many of those have been extra inning games?
They have won 17 consecutive extra inning games this year. Large and by far, Major League Baseball record.
Yeah, this absolutely insane what's going on in Baltimore right now. But Buck Showalter, amazing manager, the coaching staff.
But does he deserve that amount of credit?
I think he does, because if you look at the talent level on this team, you said it yourself before the season, Kevin, can they get out of the cellar? Now they're sitting there 92 wins. It has to be the coaching staff.
Other than, Adam Jones and J.J. Hardy, can't name a lot of players from the Orioles.
Right. There's no big superstars. I mean, when you look at the team, the way they're built, it's Matt Wieters behind the plate. You wouldn't call him an elite catcher by any means. I mean, he's getting better. I mean, he's expected to be a pretty good catcher, but not elite. Adam Jones has had a good year, but you wouldn't throw him in the MVP race. Nick Markakis is probably the most well-known Oriole, and he's hurt. So, like you said, I mean, this is a team of no-name players, much like the Oakland Athletics. Nobody, I mean, aside from Yoenis Cespedes, because the only reason people know him is because he just came out of Cuba. So, I mean, the Orioles are winning with players that have basically been scrapped from other teams. You look at Jim Johnson, the closer, he has 50 saves this year.
That's amazing.
And he came out of nowhere.
Yep.
And this is a guy whose K rate is like 6 an inning, or 6 per 9 innings, which is unheard of for a closer, except for when you have the usual anomalies like the Dan Cobbs or Joe Borowski, those guys that just somehow get outs. But this guy has 50 saves.
It's amazing.
It really is.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. This whole Baltimore story is just absolutely mind-boggling. You can't get your head around it.
Here's a question for you two. If you had to pick one team with their top pitcher, I don't even know who the Orioles' top pitcher is. And I'm a huge baseball fan. I don't know who their top pitcher is, to be completely honest. If you had to pick between the Yankees and the Orioles, one team to represent the American League, who would you go? You have to say the Yankees.
You would have to say the Yankees. I would love more than anything to say the Baltimore
If
Orioles.
you say the Orioles, you are crazy.
I know. I would love more than anything to say that, but you can't. You would have to pick the Yankees in that one game situation.
Yeah, Yankees. You look at what they've done in the postseason. Is there any way you can't go with them?
With the amount of runs that this offense is putting up and putting CC Sabathia out on the mound in that one game situation, it's almost, I'm not going to say guaranteed, but it's almost game over at that point.
But, I mean, the Orioles have proved us all wrong, yet we're still taking the Yankees. It's incredible because we just don't believe in that team. I hope that they prove us wrong.
I do too. I would love to see the Orioles win.
All right.
Team in the World Series.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How about an Orioles
Nationals?
Or Reds?
No.
Don't think they're going to make it that far?
No. Well, we'll get into that. We can get into that. Shifting, I want to bypass the American League. We'll talk about the White Sox in a second, but I want to go to the West. Are you choking over there? Are you White Soxing it up over there?
I think I got a curly fry stuck in my throat.
I think you might have like a eucalyptus somewhere up in there. Let's move to the AL West because this is an interesting division as well. They have 3 teams that very well could be in the playoffs if things would have shaked out differently. Because the Angels, we know they're star-studded because they just signed Pujols. They have 3 legitimate starters to head their rotation, and somehow they're going to probably find themselves on the outside looking in.
Yep.
And then you have the Oakland Athletics who have nobody, and they are going to be looking on the inside looking out. And then, of course, the Texas Rangers who have been to the postseason and to the World Series 2 straight years and have lost both times.
How weird is it that Texas has just been kind of flying under the radar the whole season? Best team in baseball.
And that Josh Hamilton has flown underneath the radar. He has 43 home runs, a career high.
He had that stretch of a week. He had how many home runs? Oh.
What, 50? Well, obviously not 50.
It was ridiculous.
I mean, this, like you said, this team has probably flown under the radar for most of the season, but in a lot of people's opinion, they are the front runner.
Yeah.
Because they have such a deep team. From the rotation to the lineup, there isn't a spot in that lineup that is weak. But are they the best team in their division when it boils down to it? The Athletics are just like the Orioles.
Yep.
Can we put our trust in the Athletics?
I
don't think so.
I don't think so. They're sitting one game back right now, and I mean, I would love to see that three-way tie situation happen, but I mean, we'll have to see.
The Athletics is an interesting situation because you look at their players right now, and it's Josh Reddick, a guy who was casted off from the Red Sox as being too late hitting. The Red Sox, they picked up Sweeney, I think, who had 0 extra base hits in 200 at-bats. Reddick now has 30 home runs.
Yep.
Goes to show how smart the Red Sox were.
And he's also an amazing outfielder. I think leaders right up at the top in outfield assists this season.
Him and Jeff Francoeur.
He's got a cannon.
Yeah. And then you look at Cespedes out in left field, and he's dropping bombs. I mean, that guy looks like Adrian Beltre from 10 years ago.
Yep.
This team is built so strangely. And then they lose 2 of their pitchers, Bartolo Colon and Brandon McCarthy, 2 totally different reasons. Bartolo Colon is out because of, kind of was shooting up steroids, and McCarthy got hammered in the head. So how does this team still survive? I don't understand how this team is still there.
This is one of those weird things. They just find ways to win ball games.
It's a whole Billy Bean style. If you've read Moneyball.
Oh, yeah. I've seen Moneyball. I've read Moneyball. I've slept Moneyball. I'm just kidding. So let's move to the Central, because this is an interesting division. Because I like when the White Sox suffer. Because White Sox fans usually care more about the Cubs losing than the White Sox winning. And it's nice to see that the White Sox have been the chokers this year, because that's the motto that they always say the Cubs are. They're the chokers. The White Sox held a 3-game lead with less than 2 weeks left, and the Detroit Tigers were just as bad as they were, and now they're 3 games back.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, just watching that series against the Tigers and the series just had against the Rays. I mean, it's just a team that just looked defeated. I mean, they're sitting there tied for first in the American League Central with 6 games to play, and you come out with a 3-game series like that against Tampa Bay.
That's called a goose egg.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the guys they got veterans on there who've made it to the postseason, and for whatever reason, they couldn't do it.
I mean, you look at this team, and it's Adam Dunn, it's Paul Konerko, it's Kevin Youkilis, it's Alex Rios. I mean, these guys are household names outside of Chicago, and they haven't been able to get the job done. Paul Konerko was having a great year until it started to really matter, and now he's suffering. And Adam Dunn, same way, 209 batting average. Yeah, the home runs are nice, but when you need a clutch hit, Adam Dunn can't produce it.
He either hits a home run or he strikes out.
Or walks.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, are you really surprised that the Tigers overtook them?
Beginning of the season, I picked the Tigers to win the Central by the largest margin of victory in any division in the league, and it's amazing how horrible the American League Central ended up, and the Sox still couldn't find a way to pull it out.
You look right before the All-Star break, the White Sox were, I don't even remember, but it was a little bit of a surprise how well they were doing. You know, people were wondering if they were going to be able to hold that up all season, and obviously come this last couple weeks, obviously not.
All right. We're going to be right back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. And if you want to tweet in your AL and NL MVP picks, also you can submit your AL and NL Cy Youngs. We may read them out over the air. We're going to give you our picks. Tell us yours right here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. We're going to be right back after this quick break with baseball, and then we'll shift gears into football in just a little bit. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush, Jason Krug, Jeremy Rushing. I'm Kevin Jackman, and we're going to finish talking up about baseball as we're going to go into the AL and NL MVPs. If you want to tweet us your picks, go to at WONC Sports on Twitter and submit your submissions, your picks. Submit your submissions. This kind of sounds funky. But feel free to send us your picks. We may read them out over air if you don't get it to us right away. Maybe even come back to it at some point. You never know. Go ahead and tweet at us. But right now we're going to go into ours. So let's go AL right now. We'll go MVP and Cy Young. We'll start with Jeremy. Who is your MVP?
I'm going to go with Josh Hamilton just because I think it's his production at the plate that's really been the reason Texas has done so well this season. And, they're flying under the radar, but Josh Hamilton has been huge for the Rangers.
I think I'm going to have to agree with him. Josh Hamilton, the numbers he's put up. Then that one week that we talked about earlier in the show about how he just hit bombs after bombs. He's just one of those great players.
I'm not even playing devil's advocate here. I'm speaking, I think, for the majority of other people.
Yep.
Miguel Cabrera. This guy's going to win the Triple Crown if he hits one more home run than Josh Hamilton. How do you not vote him MVP when he has carried his team in the later part of the season past the White Sox? Doesn't say much. But seriously, Miguel Cabrera has been one of the most outstanding players for the last 10 years. He has been recognized very little. I think this is the year for him for the MVP. Cy Young, AL Cy Young, not Hellickson. I know. Right?
I picked Jeremy Hellickson at the beginning of the season as a dark horse Cy Young pick. And
as soon as you told me that, I had to mention it out on over air.
I'm very sorry. I'm going to go with Verlander.
Okay. I mean, that's
self-explanatory. I mean,
not to sound like I'm repeating Jeremy right now, but I got to go with Verlander, too. He's been dominant, except for the All-Star game. We saw him just get lit up.
Oof.
That's the only time
he was just trying to throw like 105 miles an hour.
You look at how he pitches. He's throwing in like mid-90s. Then once he gets to the 7th, 8th inning, he picks it up, starts throwing upper 90s.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I say Verlander just because who's his competition right now in the AL Cy Young race?
Jared Weaver,
Felix
Hernandez, and David Price.
I have a feeling you're going to go with Price.
Well, yeah, I told you that. What are you trying to predict something that I've already told you?
You don't have to tell people that.
Well, I mean, you're trying to take credit for being a magician here. I'm taking David Price. This is a guy that came out of nowhere. I mean, not out of nowhere. He's been a good pitcher for the last couple of years, but David Price leads the league in ERA and Ks. I mean, come on, man.
Come on,
man. Going to the NL now. We'll go MVP first, and we're talking about this. This is hard to talk about because there's no real standout MVP. There's no guy on any of the big winning teams. You look at the Reds, nobody really sticks out. Nationals, nobody sticks out. Giants,
Yeah, I'm going to go with Buster Posey for the Giants.
I don't want to say Ryan Braun. I despise Ryan Braun and the whole steroid thing.
But the year he's having, doesn't it prove that he wasn't on steroids?
Proves that he still is on steroids.
Yeah, exactly. See, I don't even know. I don't even want to put my vote in. Well, I'll just say Joey Votto because I don't want to vote Ryan Braun.
I'm going to agree with Jeremy. I'm going to go with Buster Posey. I think he is the heart and soul of that team. If he wasn't on that team, they would not be in the playoffs.
We saw what happened last season.
There you go. They didn't make the playoffs last year because of Buster Posey was out of the lineup.
Yep.
So I'm going to agree with you for once in my life. NL Cy Young, and this one's another close one, and you have a couple options there. We'll start with Jeremy.
I'm going to go with Gio Gonzalez from the Nationals just because the whole controversy with Strasburg being shut down or whatever. Gio Gonzalez has really proved himself as the ace of that rotation. He has more wins than anyone in Major League Baseball. Gio Gonzalez.
I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say R.A. Dickey, knuckleballer. I mean, he's a guy who came out of nowhere and has just been dominant. That knuckleball, most pitchers do not throw a knuckleball that hard. As hard as he throws it, I mean, he's something special. He
really is. I can't disagree with that. Another name that was thrown in there was Matt Cain last night by Adam Halleck. I would not disagree with that either. I'm going to go with Clayton Kershaw. I think he's had the most complete season of any pitcher, even though his team's not going to be in the postseason, and I don't think he has necessarily been that valuable to his team. I think he's the best pitcher in baseball, at least in the National League. So I'm going to go with Clayton Kershaw. That will do it for baseball talk right here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. We thank Jason Krug, who is now going to peace out as we move to football. And with that transition, we are going to go to another quick break. This break will be a little bit shorter, and we're going to be right back. A little bit shorter, and we'll be right back with some football right here on the Ultimate Sports Rush presented by WONC Sports. Back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush, Kevin Jackman and Sven here in the studio as Jeremy joins me for some football talk. And I know we got Monday Night Football tonight with the Bears playing the Cowboys. Thank you. I was going to say Giants. They played last night. That'll be a good game. We're going to wait until the very end of our football segment to preview that game. but we have a ton of football to cover, and not a whole lot of time. So we're going to speed through the weekend that was in the NFL. We're going to cover 4 games before we go to another break. Actually, 3 games. The Falcons get a very narrow victory, and I know you want to talk about this game because the Falcons almost threw this one away.
They did.
They played so well for most of that game up until the last part, but Matty Ice carried you to a victory.
Matty Ice and maybe the Panthers secondary carried us to a victory because that was pretty pathetic on the Panthers secondary's part. The only person that knew where that pass was going was Roddy White.
Yes.
I mean, it was absolutely insane. And then, of course, after that, the Panthers just absolutely giving the Falcons the sideline for every play ensuing that. But, I mean, just what a throw by Matt Ryan, first of all. A throw ball 60 yards and right on the dime to Roddy White. And then, of course, Matt Bryant, clutch as always. He is 9 for 9 so far this season in field goals. And just an absolute, a big win for the Falcons to go 4-0.
I was just going to say, Falcons improved to 4-0. They remain undefeated. One of 3 teams undefeated. Not the Patriots. The Cardinals are undefeated. And the Houston Texans. Cardinals is a bit of a surprise. Moving on to the Patriots. Patriots came in with a 2-game losing streak. And I mentioned this last night. That is as common as a Halley's Comet passing over Earth.
I know, right?
Because on a Bill Belichick team, you do not lose consecutive games. If they made it 3, oh, man, it would have been crisis mode.
And they were facing that at halftime, weren't they?
They were down 21-7 to the Bills, and boy, did they come back in dramatic style. 52-28.
That is amazing how many points they put up in that second half. It was just passing and see you later. It was just one of the best offensive displays in a half I've ever seen in my life.
You look at this Tom Brady-led team, and for the first half, it looked like they were just going to stall. It looked like the Bills had this game, and they were going to force the Patriots to go 1-3. And then Tom Brady says, no. We got this.
Yeah.
And they have 52 points at the end of the game.
That's amazing. That's a college score.
It really is. And it was too easy for the Patriots. It really was.
That is the New England Patriots we're used to seeing.
It really is. And they improved to 2-2, and now they look once again like a top team in the AFC.
How about the comeback game from Stephen Ridley? Wow.
That Bolden guy.
After that game he had against Baltimore, I have him on my fantasy team, so I had a first-hand account of that. one point against Baltimore fantasy-wise, and he had
Huge
25.
Did you start him?
Yesterday. Of course I did.
Good boy. But, the running attack is not something we're used to seeing from the Patriots, and they utilized it yesterday.
They really did.
And, they played pretty well. Tom Brady didn't have to use the arm a whole lot, but, Gronk and Welker were there. Even Brandon Lloyd. How about that catch in the end zone?
Oh, my gosh.
Woo! All right, shifting gears one more time before we head to a break. The 49ers destroyed the Jets. Destroyed the Jets.
That was one of the most pathetic performances I've ever seen in the National Football League. The Jets yesterday, that was just pathetic.
The Jets looked like they were a high school football team going up against a Super Bowl team.
Exactly.
Mark Sanchez couldn't do anything. The offensive line, it looked like there was one guy blocking.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then how about that freak play with Santonio Holmes?
Yeah.
Where he caught the ball, fell, and then sort of threw the ball out. Just
take it! I don't care anymore! Take it!
That's one of the weirdest plays I've ever seen in my life, but that just kind of sums up the whole season for the Jets so far.
Big storyline coming out of this game is the quarterback issue with Tim Tebow and Mark Sanchez. And we knew this at the beginning of the year, that Mark Sanchez was going to go through a stretch like this. We didn't know when it was going to be, but it's early in the season, and Jets fans are probably clamoring for Tebow at this point.
The one play Tim Tebow got in yesterday, he almost broke his receiver's leg.
He did. The guy is out probably for the year.
Yeah, just leaving him out to dry like that just proves the inexperience of Tim Tebow.
You cannot win with a quarterback like Tim Tebow. I can't understand why any fan would. That's like a Bears fan going, Haney. When Cutler's throwing interception after interception, Cutler is still the better quarterback. There's no doubting that. And Sanchez is the better quarterback for the Jets.
He is.
You don't switch, do you?
No, you don't. I would definitely not switch.
All right. God bless you.
Thank you.
You can cover up your mic all you want. It's going to pick it up.
I'm sorry. I don't have a button over here. You're the one controlling the button.
That is true. You should have waved, button. I gotta say. All right. We're going to go to another break. When we return, we're going to talk about The Packers, narrow win over the Saints. We're going to talk about the Lions. They go 1-3. The Vikings, 3-1.
They're division leaders at this point.
And the Bears tonight against them Cowboys. It's going to be a good game.
It is.
All right, we're going to be right back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. Don't go anywhere. More NFL football on its way when we return right here on WONC Sports. Back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. Kevin Jackman, Jeremy Rushing here in the WONC Sports Studio. You know, it's you have to. It's almost like a melodramatic song to
really
start,
is.
and then it gets into the good part. Eminem here as the bed music right now. We're continuing with football right now. We're going to go to the NFC North because that's where the action is. The Packers. I mean, this is a team that should have won on Monday night. And this is a team that going into the game against the Saints needed a victory to stay alive, at least in the early part of this season. No team wants to go 1-3.
Yep.
And when you go 1-3, your playoff chances take a huge hit,
Yep.
much less 0-4, because I want to talk about the Saints too. But first, the Packers. This is a team that, coming into the season, was a Super Bowl favorite. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played terrific, but he played just well enough to beat the Saints yesterday.
Aaron Rodgers proved in this game that he is the most valuable player in this league, and he didn't even do the thing that made him believe that he is the most valuable player in this league. The one play he was out almost changed the whole complexion of this game for the Packers. He gets the eye injury. It's 1st and goal inside the Saints 10, and Graham Harrell takes a snap, gets tripped by his own lineman, fumbles the football, and Saints ball 2 plays later, an 80-yard touchdown pass from Drew Brees.
Why does it just seems to me whenever a backup comes in, they always fumble the ball.
You know, and that's Troy Aikman, who was doing the game for Fox Sports, was talking. When you're inside the goal, when you're inside the other team's 10, you know to get out of that pocket fast if you're been in the league a while.
Yeah.
Graham Harrell doesn't know that. It was his first official NFL snap,
Oof.
non-preseason.
Talk about
and he fumbles the football.
You know, the Packers are a good team, and I think the more they establish the run with Cedric Benson, I think the better they'll be.
Yeah.
Right now, I can't see them as a Super Bowl contender, and that's just my opinion. But the defense doesn't look that great, and the offense has looked somewhat stagnant from time to time. It's unlike anything we had seen in the last 2 years.
They're a Garrett Hardley field goal away from being 1-3 right now.
And that's what I want to talk about. The Saints were a field goal away from winning their first game of the season. They are now 0-4.
Wow.
And, you know, it's remarkable in and of itself that this game could have produced 2 1-3 teams with the Saints and Packers involved. The more incredible thing is that the Saints are 0-4, but do you really count them out of the playoffs?
You know, the way the NFC is shaking up right now, I would have to say yes. The way Tampa Bay really blew that game to Washington yesterday.
Talk about it, yeah.
And you know that could have been 2 games back. Atlanta's going to run. Looks like they're going to run away with the division right now with a 4-game lead over the Saints. And cross your fingers on that one. But the wild card spots. I mean, I don't know the way the second tier of each division is shaking out right now. But 0-4. I mean, you can't be too confident in a playoff spot anytime you're going to 0-4.
The Saints have a lot of work to do.
They do.
And I think Breeze is up for the challenge. I just don't know if he can bring his team back. They have to go 10-2
Yep.
for the remaining part of the season.
To even have a chance.
To have a chance.
10-6 might not even be good enough at this point.
It's scary to think that the Saints may miss out on the playoffs after week 4. Wow.
They don't do the little things, Kevin. I mean,
Yeah.
that holding penalty on that field goal kind of sums up their whole entire season so far.
And then the missed field goal.
Yep.
I mean,
you cannot blame Garrett Hardley, though. He had to line up at 3 separate spots on the field before they actually got a chance to kick that football.
if you're a kicker, you're being paid to make that kick.
That's true. But I don't give kickers passes, but I'll give them 1/10 of a pass.
A
on
rain
that one.
check.
Yeah, I'll give them a rain
Kind
check
of.
on that one.
Shifting gears to the Lions. The Lions were a team that were supposed to compete at the beginning of the year, and not so much right now
Yeah,
because
not so fast, my friend.
they are 6-11 in their last 17 games. This is a team that went 5-0 to start last year,
Yeah.
and they've gone 6-11, including the playoffs, since then. Is this team a team that will compete for a playoff spot, or will they just disappear into obscurity just like the Lions always do?
It's tough the way, Minnesota's on top of this division right now. The Bears looking in there. You can never count the Green Bay Packers out. The Lions could come back and finish, 9-7 and be last in this division. And, I don't think they'll disappear into obscurity, but I don't think they have enough to have a chance of making playoffs this year.
And this is a question I posed last night to, I believe, Adam Halleck. It might have been Ali Polanski, but who would you rather face right now? The Lions or the Vikings?
I'd say the Lions at this point.
That's
did you
what they
watch
said.
that game yesterday?
I know.
Percy Harvin is one scary individual.
Yeah. He's
better
than I had ever thought he would be.
He, right now, I love Devin Hester to death, but right now Percy Harvin is far and away the best kick returner in the league.
He's the best overall player. Maybe
Yep.
the best overall athlete in the NFL.
Yes, he is.
Because he is so complete. The Vikings moved to 3-1, and they, like you said, are now atop the NFC North, pending this game tonight. If the Bears win, they'll be tied atop at 3-1 apiece. But right now, the Vikings are the division leaders. If you were to say, I'm going to pick the Vikings to win the NFC North, you would have been clinically insane.
No, the Vikings to win the NFC North and the Arizona Cardinals to win the NFC West.
Stop it. Stop it.
Leave.
Walk out that door. I will talk by myself.
Exactly.
The Vikings, nobody could have predicted that Adrian Peterson would have come back and been as good as he's been. Christian Ponder has looked like an actual NFL quarterback, unlike last year. Is this team serious? I can't take them seriously yet.
This division is wide open. You have to take them seriously at this point. With the Packers 2-2 and the Lions 1-3, anything can happen in this division now, Kevin. And the way the Vikings have started and their schedule moving forward, it's not exactly a scary schedule outside of their NFC North games. So
it's going to be interesting to see how long they stick around.
Yep.
Because you look at the team and it's built around a lot of young players, and Christian Ponder is right in the center of that.
Yep.
If he can produce, maybe the Vikings have a chance. He's got the weapons around him. You look at Devin Aroshimadu, and you look at Percy Harvin, Adrian Peterson. The defense is actually still pretty good. One name you haven't heard a whole lot is Jared Allen.
Yeah, which is kind of scary that the Vikings are doing this good and you haven't heard Jared Allen's name. But he's a guy, you can't put him down very long. He'll come around before the season ends.
All right, we're going to take one final break, and then it's Monday Night Football time right here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. I don't have that bed music, but we got to find it. That'll be our final segment here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. Bears and Cowboys coming up. Kickoff is in 7 minutes, and we're going to preview tonight's game. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this right here on WONC Sports. Back here on the Ultimate Sports Rush, I laugh every time at that promo.
That is a great promo.
That was one of the best shows I feel like I've ever been on with you and Noah.
Oh, man.
Oh, shenanigans.
All right.
Monday Night Football.
Yep.
And this is a game that will pretty much decide whether the Bears' offense is actually serious or not. Can they show up in this game against DeMarcus Ware, one of the fiercest pass rushers in the NFL, and actually block somebody?
The Bears don't do well against teams with good pass rushers, Kevin. But the thing is, they seem to do well no matter who they face. But they seem to do worse when they face good pass rushers. So, you never know what you're going to get with this Bears team. It's kind of like back in the Rex Grossman days, kind of.
Ooh, don't stop. Oh, come on.
And no, I'm not talking about Cutler. I'm just talking about the team as a whole. You don't know if they're going to perform. They could lose 49-0 one week and win 49-0 the next.
This Bears team wants us to take them seriously, and they want us to believe that this offense is somehow different than they've been in the past. The evidence isn't there yet. It's not there yet.
That's how I feel about the Bears.
But they could be really, and the defense has been fantastic.
No, the defense has been absolutely huge.
Which makes the offense glare even more than it probably ever has, is because there's so much expectations going into this year, and they have let everybody down through the first 3 games.
The Bears never seem to play well when they play the big name teams. They'll beat the Panthers at home. They'll beat the Buccaneers. They'll beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But when it comes to playing the teams like the Packers, the Saints, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, they never seem to play well in those big time games.
And it's interesting because you look at the statistics. Jay Cutler is 1-4 on Sunday Night Football. He's actually 4-1 on Monday night, which is an interesting stat. Well, how could you be bad one night and not the other?
It doesn't make any sense.
At least the statistics are pointing that the Bears would win tonight because Jay Cutler plays well on Monday nights. But like I said, DeMarcus Ware and that pass rush. Jay Cutler probably wants to wear that Kevlar vest that Michael Vick has been trying out.
I know, right? But, the thing is, Cutler could have a great game and the Bears could still lose.
Right. I mean, they really could. But he could also have a really bad game and the Bears still win.
Now, Matt Forte's
out
status. He is out.
I believe he's out of this game.
So that's a huge hit, obviously. But Michael Bush, he did his thing last week. Granted, I mean, they weren't playing too great of a team last week. But
Michael Bush he's the number one back in most other teams. I think he's really, truly a premier back that just hasn't had a chance to shine because of the running backs he's played behind.
Yep. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, it could really go either way tonight, but judging by the fact that the Bears don't play well against the big-name teams on the big-name stages, I'm not too confident.
I think the Cowboys are in the same position because you look at Tony Romo, and I think he's a little bit in a hot boat too. Seat. Thank you. Hot boat. Wow, that's just weird. He's in a hot seat too because this is a team that has a lot of talent. They have a lot of weapons on offense, and right now they're in the middle. I mean, they're around 500. They plan to be about 500 at this pace, but they want to be a premier team. And Jerry Jones, wants them to be a premier team. Can Tony Romo get the job done?
He's been given more than enough chances, Kevin. I mean, at this point in his career, you have to decide whether or not, and Romo's proved not more than yes. And now, on a given night, he can be amazing. But for a whole 16-game season, for a whole 20-game playoff run, no.
It's that time. Prediction.
Tonight, I'm going to go 30-21 Cowboys.
I'm going to go with a 21-17 score. Bears win.
Of course you picked the Bears.
I honestly
I've never heard you pick against the Bears.
I picked against the Bears. I have picked against the Bears, especially when, they play the Packers or the Patriots or a team that has a dynamic defense with a great pass rush. I think this game will be really close, and I think the Cowboys will be in it up until the fourth quarter. I think it'll be decided on who has more turnovers. I think that's going to be the outcome of the game. And I say Bears 21-17.
I say Cowboys 30-21. We'll just have to see. Kickoff, I believe, has to happen right now.
And that is our cue to sign off right here on the Ultimate Sports Rush. Thank you for tuning in. As always, alongside Jeremy Rushing, I am Kevin Jackman. Same time, same place next week, right here on Ustream, presented by WONC Sports. This was the Ultimate Sports Rush, and you have just been recapped on this past weekend and previewed Monday Night Football right here on WONC Sports.
See ya.